Ivy and Bean Take Care of the Babysitter. Written by Annie Barrows. Illustrated by Sophie Blackhall. A world of trouble. We're going to starve, said Bean. I guess we could eat spiders, said Ivy. Birds do it. Bean shivered. She didn't want to eat spiders. All those hairy legs. They were quiet. Now that she had started, Bean couldn't stop thinking about spiders. Ivy? Yeah? Do you ever worry that there's a giant spider who's the grandma of all the spiders you've ever squashed, and that she's going to come and get you in the middle of the night? I worry that there's a big potato bug inside my bed, said Ivy. Not spiders so much. Bean squinted into the shadows. There were probably spiders crawling all over the attic. Spiders she couldn't see. Something brushed against her leg, and Bean jumped to her feet. This is an emergency, said Bean. This calls for action. Okay, agreed Ivy. What action? Bean gulped. I think we need to scream for help. Help from who? Asked Ivy. Well, said Bean, Nancy. She is the babysitter, said Ivy. She's supposed to take care of you. Right, said Bean. She's getting paid to take care of me. Okay, said Ivy. Let's yell for her. 1, 2, said Bean. 3, they said together, and then they screamed. They had to scream for 1,000,000 years. That's what it felt like anyway. Finally, they heard Nancy. Nancy was yelling too. Bean, where are you? What's happened? Are you all right? They could hear doors slamming and Nancy's feet running. Are you okay? Are you in the bathroom? Once Bean knew that she was going to be rescued, she stopped feeling spiders on her legs. After a minute, it was even kind of fun to hear Nancy freaking out. Bean felt cheerful again. I've got an idea, she said. Let's scream, but no words this time. Just a scream. She's going to have a heart attack, Ivy said. Ah! They screeched. Oh no! Nancy shrieked. Bean took a deep breath and screeched, We're stuck in the attic! Help! Bean, where are you? Nancy opened the closet door. We're up here! Help! You're up there? Said Nancy in a surprised voice. How'd you get up there? Suddenly, she didn't sound very worried. Help us! We're starving! Bugs are eating us! Hollered Bean. Is that Ivy too? Nancy asked. What's she doing here? Nancy was beginning to sound more grumpy than scared. Ivy and Bean looked at each other. Help! They howled. Okay. I'm getting the ladder, grumbled Nancy. Hang on. She padded away and came back a minute later. Sheesh, this thing is heavy. Quick, moaned Bean. We're dying. She wanted Nancy to be leaping up the ladder. Something crashed into something else below them. Ouch, said Nancy. Then she said a bad word. Ivy and Bean giggled. Clump, clump. Nancy climbed up the ladder. Whack! The door in front of them popped open. And then Nancy poked her head into the crawl space. Wow, said Nancy, looking around. I've never been up here. Is there anything good in here? Bean nudged Ivy. Nothing, she said. Not a ding-dang thing. You wouldn't like it, said Ivy. Nancy's eyes scanned the darkness, and then zipped back to Bean and Ivy. You're not allowed to go in the crawl space, Bean, and you know it. Uh-oh, thought Bean. She had hoped Nancy would be so glad to see them that she would forget about that. She tried to look sad. I was scared, she said in a quavery voice. That's your own fault, bozo, said Nancy firmly. Get down from there. Nancy climbed down the ladder into the closet. Ivy edged out of the hole and followed her. Bean rolled over onto her stomach, pulled the door toward her, and set it in its frame as she backed down the rungs of the ladder. Then Nancy noticed the sheets and towels. What's all this black stuff on the towels? Bean, did all this stuff fall out of the crawl space? I don't see any black stuff, said Bean, stalling. Bean, look, it's everywhere, snapped Nancy. Yikes, thought Bean. There was an awful lot of dirt, more than she remembered. Maybe it was like that before, suggested Ivy. It was not like this before, Nancy said. She turned to Ivy. I don't even know what you're doing here, Ivy. She whirled around to glare at Bean. You are going to be in a world of trouble when Mom gets home. A world of trouble. Bean opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Then Ivy said in a quiet voice, My babysitters play with me. That's it, thought Bean. Maybe she hadn't been exactly good, but that was because Nancy had been a bad babysitter. Leona always knows where I am, she remarked, because she's always with me. Nancy stopped glaring and started looking guilty. Leona doesn't sit in the bathroom putting on makeup all afternoon, Bean pointed out. She earns her money drawing horses for me. Nancy made a throat-clearing sound. She brushed some dirt from a towel, and then she gave Bean her big, peppy smile. You know what, she said. I bet I could just vacuum all this dirt off the sheets and towels. I bet it would come right off. Bean smiled back at her. I'll go get the vacuum if you want. Okay, you go get the vacuum while I put the ladder away. One is silver and the other is gold. Ivy and Bean were playing in the living room when Nancy finally finished vacuuming. They were playing doll babysitters. Bean's doll was the kid. She had crawled out on the roof and was dancing on the chimney. Ivy's doll was the babysitter. She was having a fit. Come down before you fall, wailed Ivy's doll. Maybe I will, and maybe I won't, said Bean's doll. Suddenly there was an earthquake. The house was a tall stack of books. Bean's doll fell quite a ways. Oh no, my legs are broken, shouted Bean's doll. Luckily I'm a doctor. Ivy's doll jumped up. Let's put band-aids on them. Too late, the volcano next door is erupting. Here comes the lava. It lifts the house up and carries it for miles. Ivy picked up the attic book and threw it across the room. The babysitter is buried in rubble. Nancy walked into the living room looking crabby. What a mess! You two can just pick up all those books yourselves. I'm tired of cleaning up after you. But we're playing, said Bean. Well, stop playing and pick up those books, snapped Nancy. I want this place looking perfect when Mom and Dad come home. She glanced at the clock. Which is going to be soon. That's not fair, Bean started yelling. We're having fun. Suddenly she stopped. Nancy looked weird. Her eyelids were silver, and her eyelashes were blue. She had forgotten to wash the makeup off. Have you looked in the mirror lately? Asked Bean. You're colorful, said Ivy. Nancy ran down the hall to the bathroom. She banged the door shut. Bean heard the water running. I guess we don't have to pick up now, said Ivy. She'll still make us do it in a few minutes, sighed Bean. My babysitter's clean up for me, said Ivy. So does Leona, but Nancy's not a real babysitter, said Bean. She tossed her doll onto the floor. Playing was no fun once she knew you had to clean it up. She missed Leona. What if Nancy was going to be her babysitter forever? Her parents would like it. And Nancy would like it too because of the money. Bean couldn't let that happen. I have an idea, said Bean. Come on. She got up and walked down the hall, and Ivy followed. Bean leaned close to the bathroom door and said loudly, If it weren't for me, you'd be in big trouble. Nancy opened the door. Her face was wet and blotchy. What? It's pretty lucky for you that Mom didn't come in and see that silver stuff, Bean said. Nancy stared at her for a moment. Okay, thanks, she said. Bean leaned against the doorway. It's almost like I'm the babysitter, she said. You are not, said Nancy. I'm the babysitter. But I'm keeping you out of trouble like a babysitter, explained Bean. Nancy opened her mouth, but she didn't say anything. That's pretty nice of me, I think. And when we were in the attic, you didn't even know it because you were down here, said Bean. Anything could have happened to us, Ivy nodded. But you're fine, argued Nancy. But I had to take care of myself, Bean said. What do you want, Bean? Asked Nancy with narrow eyes. Money, said Bean. Since I was a babysitter, I should get some of your money. What? Yelled Nancy. Why should I give you money? I had to do all that vacuuming. But if you had been paying attention, we wouldn't have been in the attic and you wouldn't have had to vacuum, Bean said. I think you should give me $5. No way. Bean shook her head. Mom's going to be mad about the makeup. Nancy looked like she wanted to slam the door, but she didn't. I'll give you $1, she said finally. 5, said Bean. 2, said Nancy. 4, said Bean. Deal, said Nancy. You promise not to tell, and you too, Ivy? We promise, said Bean. Right, Ivy? Right, agreed Ivy. Nancy looked at the two girls for a moment. From now on, I'm only babysitting kids who can't talk, she said, and slammed the bathroom door shut. Ivy and Bean walked back down the hall. That's $2 for each of us, said Bean. I think I'll buy a doll baby. Me too, said Ivy. We can have twins.